What's good, everybody? It's your boy Black Labels with an episode here from Goat Lines. We'll actually be covering tomorrow's slate. Well, today's slate right now for February 2nd, 2025. Right here, we got a 5 game slate for a good Sunday. Sit around, hang out. Let's get some bets in. Let's see how we do. So, further ado, we are going to dive in here and see exactly what it's looking like. First game we have up on the docket is Chicago Bulls versus Detroit Pistons. Now, me being a Bulls fan, I'm not going to lie to you, we are super unpredictable. But I'm not going to lie to you, there are times where we pull shit out of our ass, like the last game. So taking a look here on the spread, we do cover the spread here at this 5.5 mark 40% of the time in the last 10 games, 47% of the time all year. We did play Detroit this year in November, and we actually beat them. Is it a different team? Yes. But this is where I come back to say I really wouldn't touch any alt lines here, or I wouldn't touch any spread in this particular game. I just don't see a spot for it. Looks like here we do have Zach LaVine possibly back from his personal absence. There is no Jaden Ivey, as we know. So really, if Zach LaVine plays, this becomes a pretty interesting play. The line did start out here at a 4.5, and it has grown. So if I was going to take this play, I'd probably take this play a little bit later because you might get this up to 6.5 if it keeps growing. It does look like here that a lot of the money, the percentage of the bets is going on Detroit. Percentage of the money is going to Detroit. So typically when it does that, it means that it's going to kind of sway a little bit. But it's not a hefty sway, so I could see it still going. I could see you getting maybe a 6.5 out of this. And then at 6.5, 6.5 again, we're looking at about a 51% here this season for them. Last 10 games, plus 22, 55%. Let's look at some of the teams they covered here at a... We'll go back just because it hasn't moved yet, but we'll see in the last 20 games here. So they did lose to Boston. Manageable. It is what it is here. We expect that. Denver, they came out on top, which you would have never thought. Here's the thing with Chicago. Either they blow past your expectation of like, I just don't think they're going to win, and then they end up winning. Or they just completely get annihilated. So, very few times do I feel like they lose in close games. It doesn't seem like they play a lot of close games. I just want to see exactly, I'm going to look through here how many games are even within 5 or 6 points. This is within 8 points. Again, this is only close game here. 2 points, 6 points, 5 points, 4. So probably about like 5 of them in the last 20 games have been within 5 points. And to be honest with you, that's not very good. So like, I could see if you want to go flip side here, if you want to go with Detroit on that spread, I wouldn't be against it. They are the better team. Just going off here in the last 20 games, they don't really cover their spreads. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I'm not betting this. I'm gonna pass on this. But like, if you wanted to do something, I mean, you can't really go wrong with either, but it's a flip. Now, in regards to the over-under in this situation, we're looking at, for this number at 233, Chicago goes over 53% of the time. Detroit goes over 40% of the time. In the last 20 games, actually, Chicago has kind of slowed down, which is very odd, considering they started the season off being one of the highest tempo teams. This line actually opened at 234.5, and it has dropped. But they actually haven't really gotten to this number consistently recently. They did get here on the 250 against Denver. They did get here on the 237 against Golden State, barely. And then they did get that Charlotte. But other than that, in the last 10 games, it's not really been their thing. So that does show me that. And that also is without Zach LaVine for, I think, 3 of these here going in. So, in Detroit, on the other end, has 50-50. They've sped up a little bit. They actually are scoring a little. They're not relatively that high throughout the season, last 20 or 35%. I'm going to be honest. There's a good part of me that would actually kind of significantly want to take the under here. I don't see Detroit giving up 122 points again. And 233, I do think they win the game. So my play here would be the 233 under. Again, I'm not betting on this game, but if I had to put a bet down, I'd probably bet the under more than anything on this board. So I'll take that 233.5 under. Like I said, you might actually get it. If it keeps dropping, which it's looking like it will, I would probably try to place this bet as early as you can so you can get a higher number. Like right now is probably the highest it's going to get. So you might want to just kind of look into that. Next game is LA Clippers versus the Toronto Raptors. Now, with this particular game, we have the Clippers at a 5-point favorite. And then we also have the over-under at a 220.5. So, oddly enough, this is actually an interesting spread that it's this close. The Clippers have covered this spread 70% of the time, and so has Toronto in the last 10 games. Now, if we go further back, 20 games, Toronto is now significantly dropped. So they're a different team, obviously, clearly. They did play, it looks like earlier in this season, and it was a close game. Now, does that mean it's going to be a close game again? No, but it's just a good reference to look back on. But neither team is very good at covering their spread. Just recently, though, they both have picked up their pace. I just see a 5-point spread. I'm not really crazy about here, but if you look at some of the teams that they've covered for the Clippers, kind of around that range, like a Washington, like a Portland, a Brooklyn. That's where you would throw like a Toronto. And they cover it. Same thing with Charlotte. Like, they cover it. San Antonio. So, in this case, this line looks like it actually opened up at 6.5 and has dropped. So, Vegas actually had it basically where they had Clippers winning by more here. So, it's actually dropped. There's a good chance you might get this lower. If you get it at 4.5, 3.5, 100% run that shit on the Clippers all day. Like that would be a perfect line ideally. Like I'll wait probably on this just because it looks like a lot of that is going there. Yeah. So we have 75% of the bets on the money line going toward the Clippers. Obviously, it's not like a super inflated money line, so it's not a bad bet. But even spread wise, 68% of the bets are going towards the Clippers. 61% of that's going towards the money is going towards the Clippers. Now over under, we have 72% of the bets going over, and this is where I'm a little thrown back. And the reason why I say that, so we have a 220.5. It opened at 219. It got up to 222, dropped back down, went up and went back down. So it looks like there's a lot of movement here at this 220 mark. I'm going under. This is actually probably I would play either or on this situation. I do like the 5 for the Clippers, and I do genuinely like the under 220.5. I actually think both of these are a great play. I would be riding, honestly, both of them. So that's just my play in this situation. I don't know. I don't see the over. I don't see what people are seeing, but I do see the under here. Like I said here, in the last 20 games, you got to think Clippers are gonna control the pace. They're a controlling pace team. They're the better team. So when the better team is playing, you're typically gonna play at the better team's pace. And Clippers are not like a super fast team. So this year Toronto does cover the 63% of the time, but also on the other end, the Clippers cover the under 65% of the time. And like I said, I do favor more on the Clippers here, controlling the pace, because if you look at recently, Toronto has also slowed down. So it just kind of favors this motion. I would love it if it gives me a 222 or a 223, if it just somehow shoots back up. Give it to me. I'll take it. I want it to go higher. But if it keeps going lower, I'm probably going to stay away from it, and I'll stick to the spread. That's my play here for the Toronto Raptors and LA Clippers. Going in here now with Dallas Mavericks and the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, big news today, or tonight, last night, whatever you want to say. I haven't gone to bed yet. The Dallas Mavericks have traded Luka Doncic to the Los Angeles Lakers for Anthony Davis. Holy shit. To be honest with you, it's probably the biggest trade I've ever seen in my entire life. And a lot of people are saying that. KD actually said on record tonight in his interview, he said this was probably the biggest trade I've ever seen watching this NBA, like in being in the NBA. Because it is true. It's significantly odd. I don't know why. It doesn't seem like there's a lot of rhyme or reason why that trade went through. But hey, man, I hope that person probably not going to have a job. Like, that is a significantly weird trade. This is scary. This is scary because you just got traded. This might be an interesting spot where Dallas either enjoys that trade or doesn't like that trade. Is the locker room deflated or are they rejuvenated? You know, this is where you got to play that emotional toll. And to be honest with you, I don't know what it's going to be. The only thing I do know is I know that Cleveland is a nasty freaking team. And Dallas has covered this number at 14.5 at 88% of the time. And that right there, to me, is a very hard way to go against. Listen, I understand the emotions behind everything. I just don't know what way it's going to turn. I'm probably not going to bet this just because I don't know how it was received or taken. In the last game, they actually lost by 12. Dallas did. Now, also, Luka did not play that game, so that's a good little outlier. So it's kind of a little bit, it's very accurate. Last 20 games, Cleveland hasn't covered that spread. It's covered it 35% of the time. And Dallas has still covered that 80% of the time. Now, they have significantly dropped here recently, so they have dropped the ball a little bit. And that was with, again, certain plays here. Let's see. This particular one against Detroit, and then this one against Boston. But you got to think, they did cover against OKC, which is actually impressive. These two, they should. That's kind of the game plan there. They need to be able to cover that. So looking at other kind of similar opponents is really OKC, maybe a Minnesota, again an OKC, a Denver. No, they got blown out by Denver. Coming back here, Lakers blown out by Lakers. Again, this is covered that technically. It's gonna be interesting. I'm gonna probably, like I said, I'm staying away from it. But if I have to make a pick for you, I'd probably take the Dallas. Maybe they come out rejuvenated. Who knows in this situation? But if you're gonna pick one, take Dallas on that spread. But if I like one more than the other, I like the under here. I do like the under. I like the under of 237. Now I do think that's pretty high. There's a good chance that Cleveland shoots this shit out the gym, and Cleveland is very they'll run the score up. But I just think here maybe we get a little bit of fight, and 63% of the time in this year has gone under for Dallas. 56 has gone up for Cleveland. The last 20 games, 80% of the games have gone to Dallas, and now this is with Luka out. So they are a slower paced team. And again, they're significantly going over. Now, like I have said, the better team does typically control the pace. But I just see this still being a slower game here. Not slow, but slower than 237. The actual line opened up at 235.5. So we're getting value here coming up. So basically 236.5, 237. Let me take it at 240. Watch this line skyrocket and it go that high, and I'm taking the under. There's a reason why they put it there. 92% of the money is going on the over. So people think this is about to go super high. And I'm going to be honest with you, I'm not a crazy person that likes to follow a super trendy pick. I'll take that opposite side. And I think that's what we're running here with. I think it's people are betting over. The number is climbing. And I'm comfortable taking this maybe closer to game time. Like I said, I'm hoping it goes to 240. If it goes to the 240, I just want to take a look here. That'd probably be the only way I take this bet. Yeah. Yeah, look at that. 76% of the time this year, 63, 85. This is what I'm saying. They're significantly going under here, significantly. The over hit in the 4 of the Dallas Mavericks' last 6 games versus top 10 scoring defenses. Like I said, some things are pointing towards it. I get it. I really get it. In my gut and a lot of certain things here, I'm following this statistic, I just think that this goes under. And I'm not taking this game unless I get this number. If I get 240.5, if it somehow climbs, and it might, because a lot of money's going on the over, I'm going to take it. I'm going to ride this out. However high it goes, I'm going to take the highest I can get before tip-off. So whether that's 240.5, 242.5, I'm taking the highest one. Getting out of this game now, we're moving on here. We have the Boston Celtics. The Boston Celtics versus the Philadelphia 76ers. Now, I am not a firm believer in Boston covering spreads. They actually don't cover big spreads, and I've noticed this all year. They've been favored a lot of times by 11, 14, 17. It never turns out that way. Philly has covered a plus 11 here recently, or this year at 70%. And that's without Joel Embiid, who never plays. They did play on Christmas, and it did, again, they were down. Well, that was with Joel. I think Joel played on Christmas. They did win that game by 4 points. But I'm not going to lie to you. I'm going to probably take this 11 with Philly. Like, that's a really high number. And I'm not saying Philly's just ass. They're not great, but they're not just ass. And they do a good job at still staying in games. And Boston does a bad job at closing games at high levels, like basically high numbers. So I've been riding that train all year. So like I'm gonna keep riding it and hopefully keep cashing on that. Is I really do genuinely like here that Philly at plus 11, probably one of my favorite ones. We do have Andre Drummond as a game time decision. Joel Embiid is out. Paul George is out. And then they have no one here actually for Boston, so it looks like a clean slate of health for Boston. It sucks, but I've seen this script before, and like I said, you would be like, "Oh shit, no Paul George, no Joel." You know what I'm saying? Like Andre Drummond here, possibly. I think he plays, but you look at that number and you're like, "Man, I think I can run this," and I really don't. Like I just have not trusted Boston. Boston has been a team that I do not trust. I'm going to ride Philly here at that plus 11. I'm not even going to touch the over-under. They're a little bit sporadic there. Moving on to the next game, Memphis and Milwaukee. I did see something about Ja. Game time decision, right shoulder soreness. I'm curious if he plays. If he doesn't play, then you're probably getting a steal here at that 4.5 for Milwaukee. But Memphis is also really good, man. Memphis is good with or without Ja. The team is freaking phenomenal. The best pace. They actually score 123 points per game. And Milwaukee's right behind them at 112. So first and 12th ranked, actually defense. Let's see what their offense is. Same thing, 12th. But the first ranked offense in the league is Memphis. Looking at some of these here for Memphis. They did lose to the Knicks. They did lose to Houston. Let's see. See what they're looking like in the last 10 here. So Memphis is covering is at a 4.5. Ja plays, I gotta go Memphis. If Ja doesn't play, I think I'm flipping it back and I'm going Milwaukee. I just think Milwaukee will do pretty solid with no Ja. Like, Milwaukee's really been kind of firing on all cylinders recently. And I do like that. So, I'm not going to lie to you. I'll probably rock Milwaukee if Ja is out. And I will rock Memphis if Ja is in. That'll be my play on this game. If you really want to mess with the over-under, a 243.5 for this game is a lot of points. But Memphis is ridiculously high octane at this point. Against, see what they're looking like on a head-to-head. They did play on Halloween to start the season and it went at 221. They did go under their line at the 231. Last 20 games, Memphis has gone under 55, 80 for Milwaukee. Milwaukee's defense has stepped up significantly in the last month. So 243 is a high number. It actually opened up at 239 and it's still climbing. Again, let's take some value here. I could see myself, if it does climb more, there's a good chance this climbs to 245. If it climbs to 245.5, you could catch me pulling the trigger on the under. I just think the number is starting to run away too fast. 239, I would have took the over, but I really do think the two, because if you switch it here, say we do get it at the 245.5, like 90% under in the last 20 games. They've gone over, and almost 90% of the time they've gone under, and 67% of the time. That's what I'm saying. Like that's a lot of points to just uphold right there at a 50-50 bet right there at a -110 that it'll be if it goes that high. I would like to wait and see on this approach. If it gets to 245.5, I'm pulling the trigger. And I'll take that. I'll take that all day. And then on the spread, like I said, if Ja is in, I'm taking Memphis. If Ja is out, I'm taking Milwaukee. That's how I will play it, that situation. All right, but that's it for today. We do have that slate all covered. Again, this is Goat Lines. My name is Black Labels. We do have a Discord. If you actually go ahead and you'll see the Discord link below in the comment section and in the info section. You'll be able to go ahead and see that. Leave a comment. Let me know exactly what you're playing. You know, I always like to hear what other people are playing because I'll check the messages and see exactly, hey, man, maybe I was wrong on this take. Hey, man, at the end of the day, it's all guesses, educated guesses. That's what sports betting is. We're just trying to find the best edge we can. So if you do like any of these plays, go ahead and follow them. If you think it's going to be trash, go fade them. I always love some competition. But again, my name is Black Labels. I'm here with Goat Lines. Feel free to always, let me know. You can always DM me on Twitter at BlackLabel0. If you ever need any help with anything on bets, we do have different stuff. We have a free Discord where we're starting it up actually today. Today will be its first day at launch, and we'll be able to try to get a bunch of community people in there, and hopefully everyone can kind of help each other out. That's the goal at the end of the day. End of the day, the goal is to beat the books, and that's our goal here at Goat Lines. Is we want everyone to kind of have a place where they can try to get the most information as possible, so they can be the most successful as possible. But yeah, if you can, go ahead, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe. We will be doing these videos daily. Yeah, man. Thank you guys very much, and we appreciate you, and we'll see you on the next video.